regulate their own emotions. So that's what we're going to be learning in this session. Just as a recap of that summary, firstly, how to regulate our own emotional responses, the exact strategy, step by step, how to regulate our responses so that we know when we're working with clients, when we're working with the people around us, our children, our partners, people in our lives, what are some tips? What are some recommendations? What is some advice we can give them on how to regulate their emotions? So before we start the session, hey, Samu, before we start the session, I want to ask you guys, why do you think regulating emotions is important? Why is it important to learn how to regulate our emotional responses? And as a coach, why is this important in our practice to be able to regulate someone else's emotional response? Better response, absolutely. Like Noor was saying the other day, she was having a bit of a tricky coaching session with a client, right? If we understand how to have that rapport and how to help our clients regulate their emotions, we are able to create better responses, better outcomes. What else? Why is it important to know emotional regulation? Why is this such an important thing for us? To understand ourselves, absolutely, Noor. Daniel says they serve as a purpose, but unconstructive to dwell on them. Absolutely right. If we can start listening to the message rather than the emotional response, we're able to then actually create change and create better results in our life. Noor says better connection. Absolutely right. It's very difficult to have a good connection with someone who's always anxious, who's always frustrated or always angry, right? Very difficult to build a healthy relationship with someone who's always in a negative state. Terry says to have control of our lives. Absolutely right. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what we have. What matters is our emotional home. And Noor says communication. Absolutely right. And the thing about emotions is that most people think that emotions just happen, right? I was just sitting there, I was minding my own business, I didn't do anything, and all of a sudden, anger came, or all of a sudden, sadness came. It like pounced on top of me, right? I didn't do anything. I was just there, sitting, minding my own business. But the reality is that we create our emotions through certain strategies. Through certain steps, action steps that we do, we actually create these emotional responses. The thing is, most of it happens automatically, unconsciously, without awareness. So honestly, it happens during the time of the month. Absolutely right. Okay. In all fairness, for us ladies, at that time of the month, we just give ourselves a little pass, right? Even me as a coach, right? Sometimes I'll just be sitting there and all of a sudden I'm sad. I'm like, why is my life so bad? And I'm like, okay, I know why, right? So we do also have to understand that there's certain elements, and that's what we're going to be covering in this session, is there's certain physiological elements that affect our emotions. There's psychological elements that affect our emotions. But what we have to understand is that there's a strategy. Exact same as baking a cake. I can have a recipe for baking a cake. We're going to be exploring the recipe for baking any emotion. And the more often we get to bake this emotion, the better we become at baking it. And as we've learned throughout this training, whatever we repeatedly do becomes a habit. So if we're constantly repeating an emotional response, we're constantly following those steps to create an emotional response, it will become an automatic habit. Now, as we've discussed, as Rory took you through, emotions all play a purpose in our lives. We need each and every single emotion, even the negative emotions, or what we call negative emotions. They serve a purpose and they are needed in order to create balance. But when we learn how to effectively manage these emotions, we take control of our lives. And what that means is It doesn't mean now after this training, you're just going to be able to effectively manage your emotions and you're never going to be sad. You're never going to be frustrated. You're never going to be irritated at anyone. Absolutely not, right? That's unrealistic. Why? Because we're human beings, right? And as human beings, we experience these emotions and that we need to experience these emotions. Without sadness, there can be no happiness. Without frustration or discomfort, there can be no growth. So our emotions serve us in a way to help us to develop, to get better, and to help us to actually become who we want to become. Daniel says, seems like emotions are symptoms of the loss or potential loss or of gain or potential gain of our emotional needs with the purpose of keeping your will balanced. Absolutely, right? So emotions can have many, many symptoms. It can be a symptom that you need to self-reflect. It can be a symptom that your needs or your boundaries are being crossed. It can be a symptom that you're losing something or you're perceiving the loss of something. It can be a symptom that you might be gaining something, right? So that's why it's so important for us, especially as coaches, to understand these emotions and to be able to explain these to our clients. Because how often, maybe yourself, or maybe you know someone personally, have you experienced an emotion and thought, why am I feeling this? What's wrong with me? Has anyone ever felt that before? Why am I experiencing this? What is wrong with me? Put your hands up if you've ever kind of felt that. Now, with my coaching clients, I very often have this, right? I very often, even Terry says, even coaches get triggered by clients and you need to have that under control. Absolutely, right? You need to have your stuff under control. I'll tell you a very funny story about that. But very often I'll have a client and they'll come to me and they'll say, well, I've been experiencing the sadness and there's nothing actually wrong. What's wrong with me? And then what happens is the brain starts searching, what's wrong with you? And the brain starts giving thousands of facts, perceived facts to back up this theory. What's wrong with you? You've done this, that's why you deserve to be sad, right? But if we can understand that sadness is a natural human response, there's nothing wrong with feeling sad, but we don't want to live in sadness. We don't want to live in anger or frustration. So it's not about not experiencing that emotion, but it's about once we experience it, we listen to the message and then we take action based on that message and we create a better outcome. Right. And Terry says, even coaches get triggered, right? I was having a coaching session the other day, and as much as I was trying to coach this client, she wasn't even giving me a chance to speak. She was speaking nonstop for ages and telling me all about her problems. And every time I wanted to ask, okay, how can we kind of navigate this to a more solution focused? It's like she just kind of gave up completely on that solution. And she kept trying to focus, what is that problem? What is that problem? And we kept going around in circles. For a moment, I started to get frustrated. And then I remembered there's a reason why she's in coaching, right? She's obviously doesn't have the emotional intelligence of communication. So that's where we're having to start. So yes, absolutely. Even as coaches, we do get triggered. Just give me 1 second, sorry. I just want to quickly turn this light on. Okay. This was part of that. Absolutely right. So once we understand the recipe, once we know exactly which ingredients go in and which stages, it becomes a lot easier to bake that cake, to manage that emotion, and to regulate ourselves. Now, again, our quality of life, it's not determined by what we have. We can have fancy house, we can have beautiful cars, we can have gorgeous clothes, but if our constant emotions are angry, frustrated, pissed off, anxious, sad, or depressed, doesn't actually matter what you have in your life will still not be great. Your life will still not be successful. And I'm not just meaning in financial wills. I'm meaning in emotional wealth. I'm meaning in relationship wealth. So it doesn't matter what you have. What matters is where you live emotionally, right? And that's why we can see people with barely anything and they can still live good lives. And we can see people, successful, wealthy, famous people that have everything and they can still live horrible, empty lives, right? True or not true? What do you guys think? True or not true? Absolutely right. Daniel says fulfillment. Absolutely true, true, true. Beautiful. So our state, which is our emotion we are currently experiencing, this is called our state. You guys have heard of this word before, right? Your state. Your state, yes, absolutely, Malak, the absence of gratitude. So your state affects everything in your life. It affects your decisions, your performance, your behaviors, your outcomes. It affects your relationships. Your state affects everything. And let's test to see if this is true. We could have two people in a relationship, and these two people love each other, but they just have very lousy states. They have low energy. They're not very passionate. They're not enthusiastic. They're always stressed. They're always frustrated. They're always anxious or overwhelmed. And even though they really love each other, what kind of relationship do you think this is going to be? Do you think it's going to be an amazing relationship? Do you think it's going to be an average relationship? Or do you think it's not going to be a very successful relationship? Even if they love each other, not good, right? How many of you want to be in that relationship? Anyone? No? Okay. What if we have two people, they're an average? No, Terry says, no, not me. Absolutely right. What if you have two people now, they're both averagely energetic, they have average passion, Noor says she'd rather stay alone, right? They have just average, everything is kind of average. What is that relationship like? Kind of average, right? Danny gives a thumbs down, right? How many of you want to be in that relationship? Anyone? Anyone want to be average? Okay. So what if you had two people? They were passionate, they were healthy, they had ambition, they had motivation, they had beautiful states, right? They didn't let the external factors, no thanks, not my type, right? And these two people, they truly loved each other and they were confident and they were empowering and they motivated each other and they were passionate. How many of you guys would be in that relationship? Say I. Right. Series is amazing. Yes, absolutely right. So your state determines everything. It determines high five, high five. I'm getting all the thumbs up, all the high fives, right? We all want to be there. Noor said she would give it a try. Beautiful. Overcoming that commitment phobia step by step. That's okay. Beautiful, right? So our state affects everything. Now, ultimately, we want to feel states of empowerment like confidence or happiness that will positively impact our lives, our decisions, our performance, our relationships, right? So what we need to do then is we need to actually figure out how can we create these emotional responses. Now, let me see something. Those of you with your camera on, please keep your camera on. And if anyone is willing to turn their cameras on, I need some demonstrations here. Tell me something. Have you ever seen someone who is sad? So what we're going to do is we're going to go over the recipe for the emotion. But before I show you the recipe, I want to see if you guys can actually figure it out. Because what you've actually been doing your entire life has been using this recipe. You just didn't know it was the recipe. So let's see. Let's see if you can first show me. I want to see, for those of you with your camera on, have you ever been sad before? If you've been sad, okay, Katza says yes, right, because we are human beings. What happens when you're sad? How do you know if someone's sad? Can you generally see it to a certain extent? What happens to their head? The head goes down, right? Absolutely beautiful, Katza. What happens to the shoulders? Are the shoulders out or are the shoulders down? Shoulders are down. The whole body is down. What happens to the voice? Is the voice loud? Is it passionate? Or is it soft and maybe even a little bit breaky? Right? Absolutely. Now, Kata, were you a trained psychologist? Right? Right? How did she know? Because we've been doing it. We've been experiencing it. How many of you have been happy before? Anyone ever been happy? Hopefully, yeah. What happens when you're happy? What happens to the shoulders? Do they go down or do they come up? Up, right? What happens to the head? Down or up? Up, looking around, eyes are open, voice is louder, right? Our entire physiology, our body changes. Exact same with every single emotion. So with fear, someone comes withdrawn. With sadness, they become withdrawn. Happiness, they come open. Disgust, they they want to crawl into themselves. They don't want to be faced. Anger, you get strong, you get confident, you stand your ground. Surprise, right? So every emotion, no smile, absolutely. Right? I don't do sadness demonstration very well, but that's okay. Right, so let's have a look now at the recipe. The recipe for every single emotion. And exactly, Kata, good job. If you've got a pen, guys, write this down. This is your recipe for managing any single emotion. If you're in a coaching session, you're with your clients, subconsciously, you need to know this off the back of your hand to be able to start shifting this within your client. So the very first thing, we already assessed it, we already discovered it, is our physiology. The way that you use your physical body determines and plays a role in how you will be feeling. Why? Because there's something called a mind and body connection. If I start looking down and I close my eyes and I droop my shoulders, my body is going to send a signal to my brain, we're sad, or we're feeling down, or there is something wrong. And even if there's not really something wrong, our brain will actually start experiencing that there is something wrong. The other part of physiology that we have to understand, and exactly what Noor said, there's a certain time of the month, right, for females, where your hormones will have a certain imbalance, right? Your estrogen will be much lower. And what will actually happen is you will just feel sad for no actual reason. Other physiological effects, and this one's maybe for you, Paige. Yes, absolutely. Daniel, hormones are releasing, right? So we have to just understand, we have to have awareness that sometimes I just won't be feeling as good as usual. So I need to take extra care of myself during these times to feel better. And let's see, Paige, I know you aren't here. Any other mothers here? When do children cry? When do babies cry? When are the times that babies cry? What do you guys think? Who can tell me? When do babies cry? Oh, hungry, tired. Okay, so clearly all the mothers here say always, right? When they're hungry, they cry. When they're tired, they cry. When their nappies are dirty, so they're uncomfortable, they cry. When they don't get what they want, right? Us as adults, we're just big babies. Now, maybe we won't always cry, but we will get emotional when we're tired, when we're hungry, right? It's the only tool they have. They can't communicate yet, right? But even as adults, when we're hungry, when we're tired, when we're uncomfortable, we will feel certain emotional negative responses. We will be upset. It's our body telling us something needs to change. We're not getting what we need, right? So sometimes you may think that you're so angry, but actually you just haven't eaten, right? I've got a coaching client and she's a doctor and they do ridiculous 24-hour shifts, right? So sometimes she's still in her residency. Sometimes she'll have a very hectic week. She'll have a 24-hour shift and then she'll have like not enough sleep. She'll only sleep a few hours, and then the next day she'll only sleep a few hours. And by the end of the week, she'll say, I don't know what's wrong with me this week. Everything is just so hard and I can't handle it. I've only been sleeping for 3 hours a night. I haven't been eating properly because I'm not sleeping. And I'm like, my dear, you're just tired. Go sleep. Sleep for 12 hours or sleep for at least 8 hours, and you will feel better tomorrow. I promise you, right? So it's just, again, that awareness that our physiology, our hunger levels, our energy levels, our discomfort levels, our PMS or hormonal levels, they can sometimes just affect us. And if we can bring awareness to this, we can realize, okay, I'm just unhappy because of this. It will pass. I can eat something, I can sleep, and I'll be better tomorrow. Right? So physiology, the very first thing. The second thing is focus. Because whatever you focus on, you will feel and you will begin to move towards. Your focus determines your attention. Your focus determines what you will place your energy into. And let's see if this is true. Now, I want you guys to look around the room that you're in. Look around you. And I want you to search for, have we done this activity before? I feel like, okay, almost made you do it again. Okay, some of you haven't. Let's see who gets fooled twice anyway, because I've known people to be fooled twice. I want you to look around the room, and I want you to look for the color blue. Look for the color blue. Count how many items you have that are blue. How many blue items can you see? Count the blue, count the blue, count the blue, count the blue. Okay, you've got 10 seconds left to count. Okay. Close your eyes. Everybody close your eyes. No cheating, no peeking. Those of you with your cameras off, make sure you don't cheat. Close your eyes. Samu, sit down. Your time is up. Close your eyes. Keep them closed. Now tell me how many, close your eyes, Samu. How many yellow items are in your room? How many yellow items? Open your eyes. Tell me. Okay, now you can open your eyes. 0. Okay. How come you didn't know the yellow items? How come you didn't know how many yellow items there were? Why? I gave you time to look. I gave you time to count, but you didn't know the amount of yellow items. Why?
I was not looking for yellow. I was looking for blue.
You were looking for blue, Samu. You were not looking for yellow. You were looking for blue, right? No one even counted Cutter's hair. Right? Beautiful. Okay. Why didn't we see the yellow? Because we were all looking for the blue, right? Because whatever you focus on, that's where you put your energy. So if I'm looking for the blue, I don't see the yellow, I don't see the gray, I don't see the green, I don't see the pink or the purple, I don't see any of the other colors because I'm searching for the blue. Same thing with everything else in life, right? If I always constantly focus on what's going wrong, if I'm always constantly focusing on my flaws, remember we spoke about the reticular activating system, right? That part of your brain that deletes all the unnecessary information and it allows you to focus on just a tiny percentage of reality. If what you're searching for, if what you're focusing on is your flaws, your downfalls, all the things that you don't have, all the things that you wish you had, that's what you'll be experiencing in your life. Your life will just be filled with blue or the lack of blue. You're not going to see all the other beautiful colors. You're not going to even see your strengths. You're not going to see all the beautiful things that you have about yourself, all the beautiful things that you have in your life, because you're just constantly searching for the other things. You're constantly searching for the bad things. Whatever you focus on determines how you will feel, and you will move towards that. And what you focus on depends on your values, your rules for fulfilling those values, your beliefs, and all of these create your identity. right? So your focus determines your feelings. What are you focusing on? Are you focusing on what you don't have? Or are you focusing on what you do have? Are you focusing on what you don't want? Or are you focusing on what you do want? Right? So many people focus on what they don't want. I don't want to be sad all the time. I don't want to be unhealthy. I don't want to be overweight. I don't want to be in this unhappy relationship. But all the time, what are we doing? We're focusing on what we don't want. So how can we start searching for solutions? How can we start searching for growth if my focus is what I don't want, right? If I focus on what I want, if I focus on, okay, this is what I want, I don't know how I'm going to get there, but that's where my focus is, my brain will start to create ways on how to achieve it, on how to get there, right? So your focus determines how you're feeling. And the next one is our patterns of language and the meaning that we create to things. Also, the questions that we ask ourselves. So this is our self-talk. Now, we've spoken about self-talk, right? It's that little voice inside of your head. And that voice can either be your best friend or it can be your worst enemy, depending on what that voice is saying. And remember what we said, you are not that voice. That voice is a conditioned response. It's an automatic response from everything you've ever heard in your entire life. And it is created from what you've heard the most and what you believe to be the most true. So the thing is, we can actually start conditioning that internal voice. We can start conditioning and rewiring what that voice is saying by challenging that voice and by creating new affirmations, new ways of speaking to ourselves. If I've got an event and that little voice says, no, you can't do that. Oh my gosh, you're going to fail. You suck. No one's going to like you. No, what if everyone laughs at you? You can start conditioning that voice. Write out on a piece of paper, I can do it. I don't care if they laugh at me because my goal, my intention is to give them something beautiful. Absolutely, Terry, we can create our reality. And I write out my new affirmation. I write out my new belief. I am strong. I am powerful. I am capable. I am loved. I can learn new things. I may not be able to do it now, but with enough effort and practice, I will be able to do it. So whatever you need to change, you write it out, you stick it on your mirror, and every day you're getting ready, you read that. I am strong enough. I am capable. Every day I'm getting better. I may not be perfect, but every day I'm improving. I love myself. I am blessed. I am worthy. And I write this out and I read it to myself every single day. I can leave it next to my bed. I can leave it on my mirror. I can leave it in my bathroom when I brush my teeth. And every day I remind myself of this new affirmation. And I practice this over and over and over. And guess what starts to happen? That now starts to become my automatic voice, right? And another part of this patterns of language and meaning is the questions that we habitually ask ourselves. Most people ask themselves such disempowering questions that they create disempowering answers and they feel terrible. Very often, I'll have a client that says, I'm just feeling so anxious, I'm feeling so overwhelmed, I'm feeling so sad. And I'll tell them to tell me, what are the thoughts? What are the direct, exact thoughts that go through your head when you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling overwhelmed, when you're feeling worthless? And they'll say things like, I think, what if I fail? So they think, what if I fail? They say, what if I can't do it? They say, does it matter anyway? These are real examples that I've had in the last week. They say, what will everyone else think? Think of me, right? Now, if you have to look at these questions that I've typed in the chat box And if you have to actually think of this from an outside perspective, what if I can't do it? Does it even matter, right? Why is my life so hard? Do you think if these were your questions, would you be feeling confident, empowered, ready to do the task? Or do you think you would be feeling disempowered, anxious, overwhelmed, or sad? What do you think if you were asking yourself these kind of questions? Malath, I did see your hand. I'll get to you in a second. Right? Would you be feeling positive or would you be feeling negative? Blah, right? Because whatever questions we ask determine our emotional thought patterns. If I'm asking myself negative questions, why is my life so hard? Why can't I do this? Does it even matter? What will everyone else think? So what we need to do is we need to shift these and create more empowering questions. If I fail, what can I learn? If I can't do it, what do I need to improve or develop to be able to do it in the future? Does it matter anyway? Why does this matter? What will everyone else think of me? What is my intention? What is my message I'm trying to give to these people? Why is this so important? Why is my life so hard? Why is my life so beautiful? What do I have to be grateful for? What do I have to be blessed? What are some of my biggest strengths? Right? If we can change the kinds of questions we ask ourselves on a regular basis, we change the experience that we're going through within our minds. Malath, did you have a question or were you high-fiving me?
No, I was actually agreeing with you because misinterpretation of whatever we say out loud it becomes a reality. And this is something that we don't really want.
Absolutely right. Exactly like Malath said. Beautiful, Malath. Right. What happens in here becomes our reality. And like Katja said just now, we are creating. Malath, beautiful Noor. Malath Noor says you sound better. You are sounding better. I hope that you're feeling better as well. So we create our reality. So why not shift the elements to create a beautiful reality? Because wouldn't that be where you'd rather live? Wouldn't you rather live in a beautiful state, in a confident state, rather than anxious or overwhelmed or sad all the time? I mean, at the end of the day, you get to choose, right? You can feel however you want to feel. And there's no judging and there's no wrong and right. If you want to be sad all the time, that's your prerogative. You're allowed to. But is that what you want? Is that what you want your life to be about? At the end of your life, do you want to look back and think, wow, I wasted so many of my years just being depressed and sad and anxious and worried, where I had the tools and the abilities to actually make a change, right? Again, your quality of your life comes down to the quality of the emotions that you experience, and it affects everything, your relationships, your career, your health, your energy, your physical body. Katja says my takeaway will be just what Malath said. Beautiful. Okay, so now let's have a look. What do we do? Okay, so well, on the next slide, we'll look what we do. What we have to just keep in mind is that emotions only automatically happen, right? That experience of I was just sitting there and automatically happened. It only automatically happens when you are not aware, when you're not focused on what's going on inside here. When you're living in that autopilot stage, right? Going through the motions without really living, without thinking, without awareness. So you can get to choose. Do you want to respond automatically, impulsively, conditioned by what you've done your entire life, conditioned by what your parents have done? Or do you now want to respond consciously with intention, knowing how to make the changes? And once you become aware of what's going on in here and what's going on in here, you're able to take better control and live in a way that feels good on a regular basis, where you don't get those little things that get to you, where you don't let the external world influence you and affect you, because you have control over what's going on inside. There's a lot of crap going on in the world, especially right now, right? There's a lot of hurt. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of suffering, but there's also a lot of good. There's a lot of beauty. There's a lot of love. There's a lot of compassion and kindness. But the question is, what are you going to focus, and what are you going to allow to guide you? Are you going to allow the negative things to guide you? Are you going to allow your fears and your flaws? Is that what you're going to be focusing on? All the pain and the hurts and the suffering? Because whatever you look for, you're going to find it. There's a lot of it, right? But there's also a lot of good. You have a lot of strengths. You have a lot of goodness. You have a lot of kindness. What are you going to focus on? What are you going to allow to guide you? Noor says sometimes you don't know how good does feel. How good does feel. Sometimes you don't know how good it feels to feel good, right? Right. So what do we do? What is the strategy? What is the strategy for ourselves? What is the strategy for our clients? We focus on the words and the questions that you ask yourself on a regular basis. Remember that we posted power questions? I don't know if you guys have seen them. I hope you guys have been answering them, right? We've been posting these throughout the entire program. Why have we been doing this? Because from the beginning, we've been trying to rewire your inner self-talk and the questions that you ask yourself on a daily basis, right? So you focus on the words and the questions you ask yourself. If you want to shift a certain element, you want to become more confident, you want to become more accepting, what kind of questions and what kind of self-talk would you have to create that? How would a kind, compassionate person speak to themselves? How would they motivate themselves? How would they work on an area of weakness? Would they criticize and belittle themselves? Or would they say, Miskina Habibti, shame my poor love. You don't know how to do this, but don't worry. We're going to learn everything that you need to know, and we're going to improve in this area, right? The second thing, we focus on the way that we're using our body, the way that we're holding ourselves, our physiology, our posture, our physical health, and our well-being. So you've also got in your course, in the beginning, in the introduction, you've got a little section called daily habits. Why did we put that there? Why did we add drinking water and eating healthy food to a life coach training program? Why on earth? Right? Because your physical health determines how you feel. So if you take the small steps to improve your physical health, you've got enough energy, you're sleeping well, you're focusing on your self-care, you will develop the health and the energy to be able to feel good on a regular basis. We focus on what we do have, not on what we don't. We focus on what we do want rather than what we don't. We focus on what we have and what we want. Right? We focus on solutions, not problems. Even when things are tough, even when you feel there are no solutions, you still focus on that solution, because whatever you focus is what is going to consume you. And when you're focusing on that problem, the problem gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And the negative emotions around that gets bigger and bigger and bigger, because now there's just a huge problem. We shift that focus to the solution. What can I actually do about this? What is within my control? What can I do about this? Right? Not about other people. We focus on gratitude and appreciation, not only expectations. Instead of just expecting people to be this way, myself to be this way, right? Show gratitude and appreciation for what is already. And again, we focus on the present moment. When you're focusing on the past, when you're focusing on the future, it's going to make you feel certain ways. When you focus on the present moments, what you can see, what you can feel, what you can experience, you shift that to gratitude, guaranteed you will feel a difference in your energy. Remember that gratitude is one of the most powerful and fulfilling emotions that we can feel. When we are focusing on gratitude, it leaves no room for anger, disappointment, or depression. We cannot feel angry and grateful at the same time. Physiologically, it doesn't work, right? So if you're angry, if you're frustrated, what you do, you use your body, right? Go for a walk, sit up nice and tall, look in the mirror and put a big smile on your face. Why do they say this? Why do they say smile in the mirror? Because when you smile in the mirror, you look how silly you look and you start laughing and you feel better, right? No, because when you smile, what happens is you send those signals to your brain, we're feeling happy. And all the little emotional happy hormones start being produced in our body and we will feel happier, right? So we use our physical body, we go for a walk, we change our breathing. When you're anxious, when you're angry, what happens to your breathing? When you're anxious, does it get more shallow or more deep? More shallow, right? Shorter, more shallow breaths. And what actually starts to happen is we don't get enough oxygen to the body. And now the body is not getting enough oxygen. And literally the body sends signals to the brain, we are going to die, right? Because we're just not getting oxygen. How do we change that? Take a nice, long, deep breath. So everyone, take nice 3 long, deep breaths. Sit up nice and tall and take 3 very deep breaths. And on that final one, close your eyes and just bring to mind the one thing that you are most grateful for in this life. What are you grateful for? Think of a person, think of an experience, think of an opportunity. What are you grateful for? Who do you love? Who loves you? What have you been blessed with in this life? See that image, visualize, and put a big smile on your face. How blessed, how loved, how beautiful, how grateful. What a gift to be alive. What a gift to be here. What a gift to have all these problems, because problems means that there's an opportunity to learn. There's an opportunity to grow. And problems mean that you're alive, that you have something worth living for. And open your eyes. And let me know in the chat box or with an emoji, did you feel a difference? We spent 2 minutes. Did you feel a difference in the beginning to the end of that activity in those 2 minutes? Let me know up in the chat box. Did you feel a difference in your emotional state? Right, getting some thumbs up, getting some yeses. Beautiful, right? And that's just 2 minutes. So what do I do with a client? Do it daily, breath work. Malath says calmness, absolutely. So what I do with a client, if I can feel they're getting anxious, if I can feel they're getting overworked, they're stressed, they're not kind of engaging effectively, I'll say, let's stop for a moment. Can we just take a few breaths? Let's breathe. And I'll maybe make her think of something she's grateful for. I'll maybe remind her of her strength. I'll put her into a better state, right? By using these tools that I've learned, I'll help her to calm her nervous system. And what happens when we calm the nervous system, it slows down those thoughts. So everyone can feel now they're much calmer, right? Even just with the breath, much calmer. And from this place, you can make better decisions. You can think more clearly. Right? Noor says sometimes they refuse. I would straight up then ask them, what are they doing at coaching if they don't want to change? I would straight up ask them, right? as a coach, we have to remember it's nice to be kind, it's nice to be empathetic. I'm a very empathetic person, but you also have to be direct, and you have to sometimes give tough love, because without pain, people will not change. So if they're refusing to do the activities, if they're refusing, then I'd say, okay, fine. You don't want to do this coaching? That's fine. It's not going to make any difference to me. If you don't want to do this activity, then I don't understand why you're actually doing this coaching. And I feel maybe it's best that we can take a break until you're ready and until you're committed to actually making the changes and committing to the steps that need to be taken for you to make a change. Else you're wasting your time, you're wasting your money, and I'm wasting my time, which is very valuable to me. Right? So it's okay to be tough with our clients, and either that client is going to realize that they're doing this to themselves and they're preventing their own growth, or they're going to stop coaching, and that's okay because they're not ready to make that change. And they're going to go on with their life, and when they're ready to make that change, they're going to come back because you were real and you were honest with them. And everybody appreciates honesty, right? We don't want to be mean or belittle, but we have to be direct and honest with them too, even if it's sometimes uncomfortable. Teresa says, and that helps you too as a coach when you're getting uptight. Absolutely right. I do public speaking all the time. And again, if we look at excitement and we look at anxiety, the symptoms are very, very similar, right? We get the butterflies, we get the sweats, we get the heartbeat, we get all these emotions. Anxiety and excitement are so similar. So when you're doing something, when you're about to do something that's big, like you're about to step on a stage and there's all these people looking at you, right? This anxiety / excitement starts, and then you get all muddled. And what I do is I take a few breaths, I close my eyes no matter where I am, and I ground myself. I remind myself my affirmation. I am strong, I am powerful, I am capable, I am blessed, I am loved, I am worthy. And I breathe, put a smile on my face, and I step out and I do what I need to do, right? So we put ourselves into these emotional states. We put all these ingredients to bake this cake. Katja says, I was so direct with one future client 3 times, asked her to fill out the documents, and I can then make the program that I think I've lost her, but I think I'm okay because we had this problem in the beginning. I think we should just choose our people, for her another PT and for me another client, right? Absolutely. And what we start noticing when we start working with more clients is sometimes there won't be a match, right? Sometimes you won't gel with a certain person or a certain energy. Not often, maybe some people more often than others, right? Not very often for me, but in that case, do you really want to be committed to this person that's not showing up, that's not willing to change, that you're not, that you're not enjoying that session? So now they're taking up space and they're taking up time where you could have someone who really wants to change, who is dying for your help, who would feel so grateful to give these activities and to give these lessons, right? So sometimes we do need to cut off some people to make space for others. And again, it's about their willingness. Like Rory said in the group the other day, right? You can lead a horse to the water, but you can't force it to drink. We can empower people. We can try and help them to make these changes. But if they're not willing to even try, then there's no real point then you're wasting your time and they're wasting their time. Beautiful. Okay, so now that we understand a little bit more about the strategy behind it, right? Our physiology, our focus, and our self-talk and the questions that we ask ourselves, I want you to ask yourself, which is an emotion you would like to experience less of? So which is an emotion you would like to experience less of? Is it anxiety? Is it frustration? Is it sadness? Is it overwhelm? The next question, what does experiencing this emotion mean for your life? What does how does it affect you? How does it affect all the people around you? When you feel and experience this emotion, do you lash out? Do you close off? Do you shut yourself off? What are the behaviors that you engage in as a result of this emotion? Do you overeat? Do you binge watch TV? Do you maybe use a substance? Do you drink alcohol? Do you smoke a cigarette? So how does this emotion and how does experiencing this emotion affect you in all the areas? How does it affect your health? How does it affect your energy? How does it affect your relationships? How does it affect your growth? Why is it important for you to change this emotion? What is it taking away from you? And then once you've got that, I want you to think about the last time you experienced this emotion. What are the patterns that you go into when you create this emotional state? What happens with your body? What do you focus on? What do you say in here? What are those thoughts? What are those thoughts that repeatedly go through your head when you're experiencing this emotion? Think about the last time you experienced this emotion. How do you know when this emotion is coming? Do you feel your heat increasing? Do you feel your heart rate increasing? Do you feel your breath change? Do you feel your sweat? So what are the emotional states? What are the patterns that you go into in order to create this emotional state? What's going on in your head? What are those thoughts, those recurring thoughts? And our final question, what are you trying to actually gain from this emotion? How is this emotion trying to serve you? What's the message behind it? Remember that fear or anger often contains the positive intention of protecting someone, maybe even yourself, your own boundaries. Sadness, it's saying you need to reflect, right? You need to evaluate your values, or you've lost something. So who are you trying to protect, or why? What is the positive intention behind this emotion? What is the message of this emotion? Think back to all the emotions Rory discussed. If it's one of those, or if it's linked to one of those, what was that message? Beautiful. And then we're going to answer, which emotion would you rather be feeling instead? Instead of sadness, I would rather be feeling confident or calm or peaceful. Instead of anger, I would rather be feeling happiness, or I would rather be feeling acceptance or peace of mind. So which is an emotion that you would rather be feeling instead? And once you have this new emotion that you would rather be experiencing, I want you to now create this triad for this new emotion, right? We understand the recipe now. We understand the action steps, how to create this emotional response. So now what would you be doing if you wanted to create confidence? What would you be doing to create confidence? How would a confident person hold their body? What would they be doing with their physiology? How would they be walking? How would they be speaking, right? What is their self-talk? What kind of language would they be having? What kind of questions would a confident person be asking themselves instead? What kind of words would they be using? And finally, what should you be focusing on? If you want to create this new emotion, I want more peace of mind. What should you be focusing on to have more peace of mind? What should you be focusing on to feel more confident or to feel more happy? So what is your strategy? I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Write out your strategy for yourself, how to create this new emotion. What am I going to do with my breathing? Do I need to change anything with my health? Do I need to get healthier? Do I need to gain more energy? What do I need to do that? What do I need to change about my language? The words that I'm saying to myself, the questions that I'm asking myself. How can I shift my focus? Do I need to focus more on gratitude? Do I need to be focusing more on what I can control? If I look at those negative thoughts that created that negative emotion before, the one that I want to experience less of, how can I shift those thoughts when they pop up? Instead of, what if I fail? If I fail, what can I learn? So look back at those thoughts that pop up, your recurring thought patterns. How can you change these thoughts? How can you shift these questions to create a better result, a more empowering emotion? And when you're done, if you can just give me a big thumbs up or just let me know in the chat when you're done so that I know you're all done. I got you, my love. So what needs to change to get you closer to feeling the way that you'd like to feel instead? Daniel's question is, so the new emotion has to meet the emotional need that was being met by the bad behavior or emotional signal. No, so the new emotion doesn't need to match that old emotion, but just look at, and let me know if I've got your question right. Otherwise, you can just unmute yourself and explain the question. I don't know if I'm understanding the question right. But the new emotion doesn't need to meet the emotional need that was being met. But now that you understand what that need was, what would you rather like to experience? So yes, you have maybe if it's, say, for example, sadness, you have a loss. Okay, so now we know to create confidence. For example, I need to believe that a loss is opening doors for new opportunities. I hope that makes sense. Daniel, maybe you can just unmute yourself. Just let me know, do I have that question right, and did I
Yeah,
answer it?
yeah, it's just kind of a tricky, kind of tricky as well because I feel like the emotion also, its purpose is to let you know, obviously, it's a signal, right? So it's signaling that what I see from most of the emotions is that usually the bad ones especially, is that you've lost or you've had a potential loss of certain needs that are being met. So if you can move on from that, it's good to know what emotion to change to, but you're also going to have to need to fulfill those needs in other ways.
Absolutely. So new steps to meet needs, right? So okay, I get what you're saying. Beautiful. So this has a little bit more to do with the needs, like the needs that we went through. So now what I've written here, when you have an emotion, it gives you a signal or a message, and it tells you what needs to change. Now you can do the action steps or the new steps to meet your needs. But now what we're looking at is a new emotion. And this is kind of separate from this. So the new emotion, now we need to think, okay, for this new emotion, what new behaviors, what new thoughts, what new beliefs do I have to create in order to fulfill this new emotion? Right. So I hope that makes sense, right? So it's the needs, what change, the steps that we need to change is the needs, right? The emotion is attached to the need. So how can we meet the same need? But a new emotion doesn't have to meet, like confidence is not going to be meeting the same needs as like sadness. But we might now need to change a belief, or we need to change a thought. We need to
Okay,
change what we focus on.
I think, yeah, I get that then, because then obviously usually to fulfill that, because it all kind of goes hand in hand. So then to fulfill that need that needs to be met in a healthier way, because you're obviously doing it in an unhealthy way, you'll have to do it kind of in an opposite sense.
Yeah, exactly, right? So it's like figuring out what do I actually need? What is this emotion telling me I need?
Yeah.
How can I now meet this need? So we first we first fully complete this emotion. So the negative emotion, we acknowledge it, we action the old emotion. We first make sure we acknowledge this old emotion and we listen to the old emotion. But then now we create a new emotion, and then we create the physical steps, the focus steps, and the self-talk steps for the new emotion. But they don't need to be related, but very often they would be opposites. So someone who's struggling with anxiety, their biggest goal would be peace of mind. Someone struggling with anger, their biggest emotion that they're craving would be peace, would be calm. Someone with worthlessness would be confidence or self-worth, right? It usually is the opposite. And what I've found with my own coaching, which is quite interesting, it's not fact, but it's just observational, is very often what a person is actually trying to achieve with their emotion that they're constantly experiencing is what they're lacking in their life the most. So for example, if I'm always getting angry, it's because what I'm actually trying to do is I'm trying to make everyone happy. So I'm trying to make everyone happy. So I get really angry because I'm trying to make everyone happy and it's not working. So now I'm just angry, right? If I'm super anxious, it's because I'm super anxious because I want everything prepared so that I'm not prepared, right? But then I get anxious. So what I've found just by observation is usually the emotional response is directly opposite of what they're trying to achieve, right? They're trying to achieve this so hard, but the outcome, they've just overdone it and they experience something else. Okay, so is everyone done with this activity? Everyone's got their recipe for their new emotion. Everyone understands the message of the old emotion. They know what they need to change to be able to listen to this message of this old emotion, to be able to meet this need of this old emotion. And now we have this new empowering emotion. What are the steps that we have to take to create this new emotional response? Okay, so everyone done there? Everyone got that. And remember, team, that mastering your emotions is the key to living the life you desire. The ability to have absolute direct power over how you feel in every single moment, no matter what happens around you. And this is one of the most important skill sets that you can have, especially as a coach. This is one of the most important things that we teach our clients, is how to develop this skill. Okay, team, give yourselves a nice big round of applause. Very, very, very well done. So just so you know, this session is going to be our last session of kind of personal change. From next session, we go into coaching skills and tools. So this is where we actually develop those coaching skills and tools. From there, we're going to be going deeper into creating your coaching programs, creating your coaching niche, how to build your coaching business, and how to actually create this coaching presence. Up until now, it's been more on understanding the different elements that affect us, our emotions, our happiness. But from next session, it's the actual coaching skills and tools. So yeah, yes, everyone seems very excited. Team, you know the deal. Please let us know, what was your biggest win of today's session? Thank you, Terry. What did you learn about yourself? What did you find interesting? Noor Habib, to you right at the top. You can let us know first. What was your biggest win?
I want to share something also if the time allows that. Is that okay?
Of course.
Okay, first, I like how when every emotion was split into how to understand it in all aspects. The part that Rory explained was very nice. Really liked it. And I liked when he said it might be actual loss, or it's like your perspective of the loss. You thought you lost something that you actually don't own, and this is interesting also. And I liked when you explained how we can actually act like the feeling that we want to have. It's actually like at the beginning it's very hard, but when you keep doing it, it will start to make sense more, and you will feel like, okay, this is what I want to do in my life. I wanted to share something like it was very interesting that yesterday I was reading a book and it was talking about how when you are reacting to a situation in an emotional way, you're actually losing the chance to teach people or to take what you want from people, which is not negative thing, it's a positive thing, because it says like whatever you give, you will take it back. So don't be the respond of what they are giving. Now you can flip it and you can play the game because you're actually more aware of what's happening. So when you stop that cycle of being just reactive to what they did, you're going to actually create different response from the other person. And for you to be able to do that, you have to be able to be aware, to understand, and to manage, and to know what do you want the best of that situation. And that is a very interesting way of saying things. And it can be that simple, actually. And one last thing I want to say, like like sometimes you actually don't know that there is an option of you to feel good. or actually to be successful or to be whatever. And that is because of the lack of experience, and that is fine. That's why it's important to go and talk to people and to meet new people. Like, if you are just living in your own town and people are always stressed, when you go to a different town and everyone is happy, you're like, what's wrong with them? Are they crazy? Did they, I mean, like, did they lose their mind? Why are they happy and sitting? Because first you'll feel like, what the hell is wrong with them? And then you're like, this feels good actually. You can just sit and enjoy. So this is very important to experience and to get to know people and to know, okay, there are other things in life. I don't need to be sitting here with a friend that I don't like and have to force myself to sit with her. You can actually have a good friendship and you can actually enjoy life and do other things. And this comes through experience and exploring things. Even if you
Yes.
want to feel good, like the acting that you explain, sometimes you don't know how to act it because you have never experienced it, so you don't know how does it feel like. So it's good also to learn from other people, like you said in the previous workshop. You can actually go to people who actually did it, and could be it can be also emotion. It doesn't need to be a huge achievement in there. It can be simply being happy or relaxed or whatever. I just wanted to say.
Beautiful. Thank you, Noor. Love it. By the way, I don't think I mentioned this, and I don't know if we've mentioned it yet. Do you guys know how long an emotional response actually lasts? Have we discussed this? How long does an emotion last? Quickly tell me in the chat box. I can't believe we missed this. I usually speak about this in my emotional. Uh, let's not look at Daniel's answer. What do you guys think? How long does an emotion last? You feel an emotion, how long does it usually last? Let's see. I did. Okay. So we're getting lots of very short seconds, right? But usually people would say like a day, 2 days. Usually that's how long emotions would last with people. They'll be sad for an hour or for 2 hours. But in reality, it's 90 seconds, right? It can be forever. So an physical emotional response is only 90 seconds. That's how long the emotion actually is. And the rest of the time, all that we're doing is we're thinking about what happened and we repeat that same emotional cycle. And then it's like we watched a bad movie, we watch it again, we get sad. We watch a bad movie, we watch it again, we get sad, right? But it only lasts 90 seconds. So that's also something very interesting to know and remember. Only 90 seconds. The rest is our response and our repetition. When it takes more than absolutely, then it's our choice. Then we're choosing to repeat it and to live in the memory of what made us sad or what made us anxious or what made us frustrated. We're just living in that. Okay, Kata, unmute yourself. Let us know what was your biggest win of today's session.
I am the second one. Well, I just wanted to say when Noor said aware of, I was just hearing at another table, somebody just said aware of. I was like, okay, they are on the right spot. So, and they were talking about self-awareness or something. Okay, so yeah, actually, I told you in the chat that the biggest takeaway will be the one that Malat said. And I was actually doing it already, but when somebody else, said that, or you were talking about that, or you all, it's like, yeah, it makes sense. And I am very into, I call them patterns interrupting. So I have actually already a kind of interrupting method I do, but this is still the basic. I mean, I still use this one that you were talking about, like changing, the emotions from the opposite emotions. But I also add dancing, singing to it. So I try to interrupt my patterns, and it works. It works very well. So
Yeah.
this is just actually a good validation for me that I've been on the right path with the right motion, I mean, with the right practice. And it's just very, very good that after other sessions, when we are going into the teaching methods, it will be able to teach others of me. So that's very good. Thank
Nice,
you.
beautiful. Thank you, Katsa. Danny, you up next. Noor says releasing the
Okay.
energy and expressing it.
Yeah, no, well, one of my favorite points of
Hello? Sorry, Danny.
our reality.
Oh, sorry,
And
Danny, you cut. Did you guys all hear him? No. Oh, Danny, can you please, sorry, can you repeat yourself? It was mute till now.
uh, one of my favorite points was also that one of, I think, was it Qatar said now, that point of once you give words to your experience, that creates your reality. So how you think of what happened is how you actually experience, is your perceived reality of the experience. And then another one that was quite an obvious one that also just like sunk in quite a bit was about how how interconnected the emotional needs and your emotions actually are, which is obvious because they're emotional needs, so they create your emotion. but but yeah, no, I never noticed it so much until after this session. Then I saw it a lot more clearly. Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. Thank you, Danny. It's funny, actually, like even for myself and for Rory, who have been in this for years, right? Years and years and years. Like so often after the session, we'll be like, oh my gosh, like, did you see that this is related to this? And right, the more you experience it and the more you hear it, the more you kind of like start making sense of everything. And then when you hear other things, like what Noor was saying, you hear something else, you're reading a book, or you're like, it makes so much more sense because you have such a deeper understanding of the psychology behind it. And it's like, okay, now I see where this matches this.
Yeah, it's
Beautiful.
funny. You think you know in the beginning, but you don't know as much. The more you find out, the more you realize you didn't know as much as you thought you did. Yeah.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you, Danny. Malath.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hi. So my biggest win, I guess the whole session was a biggest win for me because I'm someone who's very empathetic and emotional. Um, so the whole thing. And one very important thing, and you just mentioned it, that you put down a piece of paper and you every single day you wake up and you just manifest it, if I'm saying the right word. So
Absolutely.
manifestation has been working magic for me.
Beautiful.
Exactly. And I've been, you know what, I'll grab what I can. And we don't have limitations. We should not limit ourselves into a certain belief, a certain behavior. We can reach for the stars and we can get there. It's our mindset and it's our words that we constantly say. And you said it. What if I'm saying I can't do this and I can't do this and I'm not able to do this and I'm not able to do that? I've my in my current job, I've joined them last year and I have shifted my mindset, utterly, completely changed 100%. And it's been really, really helping me a lot because I was like, you know what? I'll do my best, even if others think I don't. And the most important thing that I took with me, that I'm not looking for validation from other people.
Nice.
I
Beautiful.
know my worth and I know I've given 100% of my time, my energy. And even if anyone thinks I have not, I know I did.
Absolutely.
The second thing, that I will not allow people to downgrade me. And I will not allow people to exhaust me and do things I'm not supposed to be doing or outside of my circle. Building the boundaries and the limitations also helped a lot. And then just everything was starting to just like kick on and become smooth. And it was just changing that I won't say misunderstanding, change that mentality of mine really helped me a lot into emotionally change, understand myself more and better. Uh, I knew how to deal with people, but building restrictions made it a lot easier. So yeah.
Nice. Thank you, Malat. And so good to hear you're feeling a bit better.
Alhamdulillah, yes.
Alhamdulillah.
Finally. But I'm swamped with the kids' exams.
Oh, yes, yes,
I'm
sure.
dying here. Yes.
Thank you, Malat. Awesome. Terry, our final one. Terry, let us know what was your biggest win.
Hi, all. Okay, so for me, through those questions, what stepped out was that there are barriers behind the feedback of our emotions. And when you can actually find those barriers and break them down, and then to recreate. So that was interesting. And of course, I really did learn something tonight. And that was that they only last 90 seconds. I did not know that. That
Isn't
was
that
like, wow.
lovely?
And I love the statement, mastering your emotions is the key to living a life that you desire,
Beautiful. Yes,
because that is so true.
absolutely.
Thank you for an awesome session.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you guys all for joining. Happy Monday. I hope that you all have a lovely week ahead, and we will see you next week, Monday, for coaching skills and tools. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye,
you,
Noor. Bye,
everyone. Bye
Kata. Bye-bye,
bye.
Danny. Bye, Malas. Bye, Terry.